Welcome to Greece. Greece is a land of iconic beauty, where ancient ruins, golden beaches, and vibrant cities fill every corner. You've seen the postcards, Athens Acropolis, Santorini's blue dome churches, Mykonos' buzzing nightlife, but what if I told you there's more to Greece than what meets the eye? Beneath the famous landmarks lies a world of hidden gems like quiet streets, untouched beaches, secret cafes, and stories that haven't been told yet. In this journey, we'll show you the Greece you never expected to find. So, get ready to discover the side of Greece that's even more beautiful, more raw, and more unforgettable than what you've heard about. Let's go beyond the obvious where the real treasures lie waiting. Athens, the city where ideas were born and still roam free. Athens, the cradle of Western civilization, rises proudly beneath the timeless gaze of the Acropolis. Here, marble columns still whisper the philosophies of Socrates and the daring strategies of Pericles. The city feels eternal, shaped by centuries of ideas that continue to ripple across the modern world. But Athens is not merely a relic of the past. It hums with a heartbeat that's fresh and wild, where antiquity and urban life collide in breathtaking ways. Therefore, as you walk through the narrow, sun-dappled streets of Plaka, where bougainvillea spills over stone walls and the scent of grilled souvlaki lingers in the air, you don't just observe history, you live it. At the summit, the Parthenon looms like a memory etched in stone, a tribute to Athena, goddess of wisdom and war. You expect solemnity, but instead you find wonder. The wind carries ancient voices, yes, but it also carries laughter from students picnicking nearby, children chasing pigeons, lovers scribbling poems into notebooks. Therefore, the Acropolis isn't only a place to behold, it's a place where you suddenly realize the ideas born here never left. They're still breathing in every conversation, every dream. Later, down in Monasteries, a flea market buzzes with chaotic life. Old coins, Byzantine icons, vintage vinyl records, you name it. You might think that in a city so soaked in history, modern life would feel out of place. But Athens wears both its toga and its sneakers proudly. Therefore, you find yourself sipping a Freddo cappuccino in a chic cafe housed in a 19th century mansion, caught between centuries, smiling because nowhere else on earth feels quite like this. At night, Athens changes again. The shadows of ancient statues lengthen under golden lights, while rooftop bars sparkle above them. You would think a city so ancient would rest quietly after sundown. But Athens dances instead. Music spills from hidden courtyards, bouzouki strings vibrate in the air, and the pulse of the city quickens. Therefore, whether you're sipping wine under the stars or getting lost in winding alleys, Athens teaches you that history isn't something that happened. It's something that's happening right now. In Athens, democracy was born, but so was a spirit of rebellion, curiosity, and conversation that refuses to fade. Therefore, when you finally live the city, you don't just take memories, you take a piece of its restless, inspiring soul with you. Santorini, where fire made beauty eternal. When you think of Santorini, maybe you imagine the postcards first. The whitewashed houses clinging to impossible cliffs, the domed churches glowing blue against a cobalt sky. But stepping onto the island feels nothing like stepping into a photograph. It feels like stepping into a living dream shaped by fire, wind and water. The ferry approaches the sheer volcanic cliffs, and for a moment, you wonder how anything could ever survive here. Jagged rocks rise like sentinels from the Aegean, black and red and raw. You expected something softer, something picture-perfect, but instead you find yourself face to face with the island's fierce heart. Therefore, even before you set foot ashore, you realize Santorini is not just beautiful, it is powerful. The island was born from disaster. A cataclysmic eruption 3,600 years ago tore apart a once thriving Minoan civilization, leaving behind this crescent-shaped caldera. Beneath the delicate beauty of white alleys and sapphire domes lies the memory of ash, molten rock, and silence. And yet, out of that violence grew something eternal. Therefore, every glass of wine from the volcanic soil, every sunset over the caldera, every breeze that carries the scent of salt and stone feels like a gift wrestled from the jaws of ruin. In Fira, Santorini's bustling capital, streets wind along the cliff's edge like veins, pulsing with life. Tourists buzz in and out of boutiques and cafes, snapping photos at every corner. It's tempting to stay here, caught up in the lively rhythm of shops and seafood tavernas. But if you linger too long among the crowds, you might miss the island's quieter soul. Therefore, you climb higher, take the narrow footpath toward Merovigli, where the houses thin out and the sound of your own footsteps returns. Oya waits at the island's northern tip, the crown jewel of Santorini, where travelers gather every evening to witness the sunset. It sounds cliché, maybe even overhyped, but when the sun begins its slow descent, washing the caldera in molten gold and fiery pinks, the world falls silent. Strangers line rooftops, staircases, and terraces, all facing west, all caught in the same awe. You thought it would be chaotic, jostling for the perfect photo, but it's not. It's reverent. No one speaks. The sun melts into the Aegean, and in that moment, you understand why people chase beauty across oceans. Therefore, you put your camera down. Some moments are meant to be lived, not captured. Beyond the cliffside villages, Santorini tells older stories. At Akrotiri, an ancient Minoan city frozen in volcanic ash, dusty walkways and crumbled walls reveal a world once vibrant with art, trade, and life. The people of Akrotiri didn't know their world was ending, but their legacy endures. But it's not only in ruins where Santorini's ancient heart beats. It beats in the rugged vineyards where Assyrtiko grapes grow twisted by wind and ash, giving life to crisp, unforgettable wines. It beats in the rough hands of fishermen untangling nets in the sleepy village of Amudi, where tavernas offer grilled octopus and laughter rolls louder than the waves. At the end of the day, Santorini is not a place you merely visit. It's a place that demands something of you, your wonder, your respect, your willingness to feel small against its vastness. You might arrive expecting a vacation, a few Instagram-worthy shots, a tan. But you leave with something far richer, an imprint of beauty shaped by fire and water, a memory that will not fade. Therefore, long after you leave, when the colors of the sunset blur in your mind and the scent of salt fades from your clothes, the feeling remains. Santorini changed you, quietly, permanently, like the island itself, forever scarred, forever beautiful. Mykonos, where freedom dances in the wind. When you first arrive in Mykonos, it's the light that strikes you first. It's not just sunlight, it's sharper, more brilliant, as if the air itself has been scrubbed clean by the sea. The whitewashed houses shimmer against it, and the narrow labyrinth of streets feels less like architecture and more like a living sculpture molded by wind and sun. You come expecting the glamour, the parties, the glossy postcard views. And yes, Mykonos offers all of that in abundance. Beach clubs throb with music by day, cocktails are raised skyward under velvet skies by night, and the beautiful people, tanned, carefree, are everywhere. But if you stop there, you miss the island's true soul. Because beyond the thumping beats and the shimmering yachts lies a Mykonos that still belongs to its fishermen, its old women sweeping courtyards, its cats napping in the sun. Therefore, you allow yourself to wander without agenda. You duck into side alleys so narrow your shoulders brush the walls, past doors painted every shade of blue and red imaginable. Suddenly, the din of tourists fades and you find yourself alone in a courtyard where a bougainvillea tree spills pink petals like confetti across the stones. Mykonos, it turns out, isn't about finding the perfect party. It's about losing yourself in beauty you didn't plan to find. Little Venice leans out over the sea with a casual grace, its balconies creaking gently in the salty breeze. Waves slap the buildings and the scent of grilled fish and oregano drifts from tavernas tucked into the crumbling stone. Here, sunset isn't an event, it's a communion. People sit shoulder to shoulder on the ledges and sip wine, laughing, sharing plates of octopus and grilled vegetables. You might expect chaos with so many gathered in so small a space. But instead there's camaraderie, quiet, golden gratitude. Therefore, you linger long after the sun has sunk, letting the stars claim the sky. And of course, there are the windmills, the island's iconic guardians, standing proud against the skyline. They once ground the wheat that fed the islanders when Mykonos was poor and hungry. Now they stand watch over a different Mykonos, richer but still windswept, still wild at heart. Therefore, when you sit beneath one, feeling the wind whip through your hair, you realize Mykonos has always been a place of resilience, of celebration against the odds. At night, the island transforms yet again. Clubs light up. Music pulses from hidden courtyards and open-air terraces. You could lose yourself completely in this dizzying whirl of sound and movement. And maybe you should. But somehow, even after the last dance, even as the dawn edges the horizon, the island holds onto its mystery. Therefore, you rise early one morning and walk alone along a quiet beach, the sand cool beneath your feet, and the sky soft with promise. The island is still here, wild, defiant, utterly free. Mykonos is a place where contradictions don't clash and dance. Here, luxury and tradition spin hand in hand. Noise and silence exist side by side. And you, whether you're seeking adventure, reflection, or simply a sunburned day of laughter, find that Mykonos doesn't demand anything of you. It only invites you to live loudly or quietly as you wish. Therefore, long after you leave, the memory of Mykonos won't feel like a postcard or a photograph. It will feel like a wild, golden breath you never quite exhale. Delphi, where the past still asks questions. There are places you visit, and then there are places that visit you. Delphi is the second kind. High up on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, the world falls away until only stone, sky, and silence remain. You expect ruins. You've seen the pictures of the Temple of Apollo standing broken against blue skies. But nothing prepares you for the way the air hums here as if the stones themselves still remember the prayers whispered into them thousands of years ago. Once Delphi was the center of the ancient world. Kings, generals, and pilgrims traveled from every corner of Greece and beyond to hear the prophecies of the oracle. They came bearing questions heavy with life and death. Should we wage war? Where should we build our city? What does the future hold? But the oracle never gave simple answers. Her words were riddles, open to interpretation, demanding wisdom from those who asked. Therefore, as you stand among the fallen columns and gaze across the valley thick with olive trees, you realize Delphi is not a place of answers, it's a place of questions. The sacred way, the path that leads up through the sanctuary, wins deliberately. Each step was meant to humble the seeker, to remind them that the journey matters as much as the destination. Therefore, you walk slowly, feeling the uneven stones under your feet, the warmth of the sun on your back, and you let the quiet seep into you. Around you, the ruins rise and crumble in equal measure. Altars, treasuries, theaters, all speaking of civilizations that once flourished, believed, and fell. Above it all towers the temple of Apollo, battered but defiant against the march of time. You might expect grandiosity, marble shining under the sun. But instead, the temple is modest in its ruin, a few columns reaching for the heavens, and somehow that makes it more powerful. Therefore, standing in its shadow, you don't feel the need to worship or to marvel. You feel the need to listen. To what? You're not quite sure. Maybe to the gods. Maybe just to your own heartbeat, echoing a little louder than usual. The theater carved into the hillside still commands one of the greatest views in Greece. Imagine, centuries ago, spectators gathered here watching plays that wrestled with fate and free will, while the valley spread endlessly beyond. But even now the stones are warm under the midday sun, and the air carries a silence so rich it feels like music. Therefore you sit for a long time, letting the ancient echoes surround you. Delphi doesn't give easy gifts. You don't come here to find yourself. You come here to realize how small you are in the long, relentless river of history. But strangely, that smallness doesn't diminish you. It enlarges you. Therefore, when you finally descend the mountain, you carry something with you. Not answers, perhaps, but better questions. Questions that will take a lifetime to answer, and that is exactly as it should be. Meteora, where stone and sky become one. At Meteora, the earth doesn't just rise, it soars. It reaches up in twisted columns of stone, defying gravity, reaching for a sky that seems just a little closer here. You knew it would be beautiful. The pictures had told you so. But stepping into Meteora feels like stepping into another world entirely, a world where the rules of earthbound living no longer apply. The monasteries perched atop these impossible cliffs were not built for tourists. They were built for monks who wanted to escape the world, not to display their faith, but to preserve it. Therefore, climbing the narrow stone staircases, some carved directly into the rock, you move with reverence. Every step feels like a pilgrimage. The wind snatches your breath away. The silence settles heavy on your shoulders. But instead of feeling afraid, you feel strangely weightless, as if the earth itself were letting you go, just a little. Inside the monasteries, time folds in on itself. Flickering candles light frescoes that have witnessed centuries of prayers, wars, plagues, hope. The scent of beeswax and old wood fills the air. You might expect a sterile museum atmosphere. but these places are still alive. Monks still tend gardens, ring bells, and light candles every dawn. Therefore, you find yourself whispering without meaning to, touched by a sanctity that doesn't need to shout to be heard. And then there are the views. Standing on the terraces, you see not just a landscape, but a revelation. The stone towers scattered across the plain like sentinels, their sheer faces streaked with lichen and history, the green valleys stretching endlessly beyond. You thought you came here for photos, for the drama of it all. But the drama isn't in the view. It's in how the view makes you feel. Small, yes, but also deeply, magnificently connected. Therefore, you stayed longer than you meant to, watching the clouds change shape, the shadows crawl across the earth, the light shift from gold to purple. At sunset, Meteora becomes pure magic. The stone glows as if lit from within, and the sky sets itself on fire. Pilgrims and travelers alike fall silent, their cameras forgotten at their sides. You'd think, standing so high, you'd feel above it all. But instead, you feel rooted. Therefore, as night falls and the first stars prick the sky, you understand what the monks were seeking and why they chose to build their homes halfway to heaven. Crete. Crete was never just an island. It was a beginning, a breath of myth carried on salt winds. At first, it might seem like another sun-drenched Greek getaway, but Crete reveals itself slowly, like a story meant to be savored. It is here that Zeus was said to have drawn his first breath, hidden in a cave beneath Mount Dicte. It is here that the Minoans, Europe's oldest civilization, danced in frescoes and built a labyrinth to hold a monster. But this is only the prologue. Therefore, you arrive perhaps in Heraklion or Chania, and immediately feel that this is no ordinary island. Naxos welcomes you with broken columns and painted walls, remnants of a world that felt beauty as religion. The bulls, the kings, the serpents, they all whisper from walls colored by time. But Crete is not locked in the past. The white mountains cut across the island like the spine of a god, and you walk the Samaria Gorge with awe in your step. It's not just a hike, it's a journey through layers of stone and silence, as if the earth itself parted to show you its heart. Therefore, you follow the coast. Delphi appears, pink sands kissed by turquoise tides where water so clear it feels unreal. Then Palos, where two seas meet in a swirling embrace and the horizon never quite ends. Each beach is different, wild, gentle, proud, just like the island. And inland, the real Crete breathes deeply. In villages like Archanes or Anugeia, old men in black drink reiki like water, and women bake bread in ovens older than memory. You eat Dakos, taste cheese so fresh it hums, and sip wine made from sun and soil. But Crete doesn't ask you to be a tourist. It invites you to belong. Therefore, you listen to the music, not just notes, but lament and joy in every pluck of the lyra. You watch dancers whose steps remember battles, weddings, and harvest. You share a drink, a story, a glance that doesn't need translation. Cretan hospitality is not performance, it's a worldview. And when you think you've understood Crete, it shifts. You visit ancient ruins and modern cafes in the same breath. You drive roads that curve like calligraphy through olive groves and mountain passes. You see shepherds guiding goats with smartphones in their pockets. Crete is contradiction made harmony. Wild yet welcoming. You came for beaches or history, maybe both. But Crete offers something else, a soul. One carved by myth, tempered by time, and opened only to those who stay long enough to listen. It is not an island. you check off a list. It is one you carry home in your heart. Rhodes. Rhodes was not built in a day, nor was it shaped by one people alone. It rises from the Aegean like a crossroads of destiny, a place where east met west, where crusaders built walls and merchants spun silk across seas. At first glance, it dazzles you with sunlight on stone and a medieval skyline framed by palm trees. But Rhodes, like any true legend, saves its deeper story for those who linger. At first, you step through the gates of the old town and it feels like a step back in time. But Rhodes is not a museum frozen in history. The walls, thick and commanding, built by the Knights of St. John, still hum with the energy of battles fought and lives lived. The cobblestone alleys lead you forward, but just as easily pull you aside into hidden courtyards, artisan shops, and shaded cafes where old men play backgammon and sip thick, sweet coffee. Therefore, you follow the call of history to the palace of the Grand Master, where massive towers loom against the sky and echo with the footsteps of warriors, diplomats, and dreamers. You imagine the clang of armor, the whispered plotting in stone chambers, the silent prayers before dawn. Yet just as you settle into the rhythm of medieval grandeur, Rhodes reminds you it is more. Therefore, you venture beyond the walls. You drive south along roads kissed by bougainvillea and golden light until you reach Lindos. Here the whitewashed houses tumble down the hillside like a frozen waterfall, and the ancient Acropolis crowns the village like a halo. The climb is steep, your legs ache, but when you reach the top and gaze out over the endless blue, you understand. Rhodes was never meant to be just seen. It was meant to be conquered by the heart. But Rhodes holds more than beauty. It holds contrast. Therefore, you explore the beaches, some wild and windswept like Thessaloniki, where the seas clash in a spray of salt and freedom. Others tender and intimate, like Anthony Quinn Bay, where rocks cradle turquoise waters in a secret embrace. One moment you are a solitary explorer, the next you are among sunbathers and snorkelers, laughter mingling with the cry of gulls. And at night, when the sun dives into the sea, Rhodes transforms once again. The old town lights up with a warm, golden glow. Tavernas spill into the streets, filling the air with the smell of grilled octopus and lemon. Musicians strum melodies as ancient as the stones under your feet. Tourists and locals alike become part of the tapestry, a celebration woven from centuries of survival, conquest, and joy. You came perhaps for the sunshine, the history, the promise of myth. But Rhodes offers something deeper, a living dialogue between past and present, where every sunset feels like both an ending and a beginning. It is not merely an island to be visited. It is a world to be entered, and once you enter, Rhodes never quite lets you go. Corfu. Corfu was once the prize of empires, a green jewel gleaming in the Ionian Sea. At first, you notice the softness of it all. The hills are draped in olive groves, the air carries a fragrance of salt and blossom, and the pastel colors of the old town seem to glow even under gray skies. But Corfu is not just pretty. It has been fought over, shaped by Venetians, French, British, and Greeks alike. Therefore, every corner tells a layered story. You begin in Corfu town, where arcaded streets unfold like a living museum. The Spianata Square opens wide before you, the largest in Greece, offering space to breathe and watch the world flow by. Fortresses stand guard at either end of the city, their thick walls scarred by centuries of sieges. At first they seem imposing, but as you climb their stone paths and stare out at the endless Ionian blue, you feel not fear, but resilience. Corfu is a survivor, elegant and proud. Therefore, you wander deeper. You sip coffee under the Liston, a shaded promenade built for French nobility, where the marble glows in the morning light. You duck into narrow alleys that twist between buildings painted in shades of honey and coral. Washing lines stretch overhead like flags of daily life. Every step reveals a fusion: Greek soul, Italian flair, British order. Corfu is not one thing. It is all things, woven together. But the island refuses to be contained by its city. Therefore, you leave the old town behind and follow winding roads to Paleokastritsa. Here, cliffs plunge into waters of impossible clarity, and sea coves beckon like promises. You take a boat into sea caves where the light fractures into 1,000 shades of blue. In these quiet places, you understand why legends say Corfu was where Odysseus found sanctuary on his way home. Further inland, you discover Ecalion, the palace of an empress who once sought refuge among Corfu's hills. Marble statues lean in silent conversation among gardens overlooking the sea. The statue of Achilles, wounded but proud, mirrors the island's spirit. Corfu knows the ache of history, but wears it with grace. Therefore, you seek the countryside. In the villages, time moves like honey. Cypress trees spear the sky, goats wander across roads without urgency, and old women sit under flowering arbors, weaving lace with fingers that have never forgotten. In tavernas, the air hums with the scent of garlic, olive oil, and roasting lamb. Here, Corfu reveals its soul slowly, with a secret shared over wine and laughter. You may have come seeking beaches and history, but Corfu offers something more profound. It is a place where cultures blend without losing themselves, where beauty is effortless and memory is alive in every stone and song. It doesn't ask for admiration. It simply exists, luminous and complete. And when you leave, a part of you will ache to return to its green hills, its golden evenings, and its soft, timeless heart. Naxos. Naxos does not shout for your attention. It waits. It has always waited through storms and empires, confident that those who need it will find their way. You first see it from the ferry deck, rising out of the sea like a sleeping god. Whitewashed houses spill down the hills, and the Portara, a lone marble doorway, stands guard on a rocky island. It looks ancient and patient, like it has been expecting you. You step onto the island and realize Naxos is not polished, like its Cycladic cousins. It is real, textured, alive. The scent of orange blossoms rides the air, mingling with the briny breath of the harbor. Fishermen untangle nets without a glance. Cats weave between sun-bleached stones, and somewhere in the distance, a lyra sings a low, ancient note. There is history here, but it does not press against you. Therefore, you follow where curiosity pulls. Up narrow alleys to Castro, the medieval heart of Cora, where Venetian mansions crumble elegantly into the sky. Down cobbled stairways to hidden tavernas, where octopus dries on lines and the wine is poured with an easy hand. you taste a sweetness in the pace of life, something slow and deliberate, as if time itself is richer here. Yet Naxos is not only about what was, it is about what continues. Therefore, you leave the coast behind and drive inland where the land opens wide in the green. Olive groves shimmer in the sunlight. Towering mountains cradle villages like treasures. In Athens, old men sit outside Caphania and greet strangers with nods older than language. In Halki, citrus orchards perfume the air and Byzantine chapels stand quiet among the fields. And then there are the beaches. Long, golden, endless. Agios, Prokopios, Plaka, Mikri Vigla. Unlike other islands where beaches are tiny secrets, here the sand seems to run forever, kissed by waves and wind. You walk, you swim, you sit, doing nothing and everything at once. Naxos is not interested in impressing you with drama. It seduces you with abundance. Therefore you feast, cheeses from sheep grazing on mountain herbs, fresh grilled fish, potatoes sweetened by volcanic soil. Every bite tastes like the land and the sea had a long, loving conversation. You came perhaps expecting another Cycladic jewel, a quick glimpse of beauty before moving on. But Naxos does not let go so easily. It roots itself inside you quietly and deeply. It reminds you that strength can be gentle, that beauty can be generous, that history and everyday life can live hand in hand without tension. Naxos is not the Greece of postcards. It is the Greece of the soul. You do not simply visit it, you inhabit it, and in return, it inhabits you. Zakynthos. The island rises from the Ionian Sea like a dream half remembered. At first, Zakynthos feels too beautiful to be real, cliffs so high they scrape the sky, beaches so hidden they seem like secrets the earth forgot to lock away. But beauty here is not quiet. It demands attention, like a symphony that begins with a single, perfect note. Morning breaks over Navaggio Beach. From the cliffs above, the sand looks impossibly white, cradling the rusted skeleton of a ship long abandoned. The water surrounding it is a blue so deep it seems lit from within. Standing at the edge, toes digging into the dust, visitors fall silent. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Later, boats carve white lines across the open sea, carrying travelers to where land gives way to wonder. Caves open along the coast like mouths of forgotten gods. Light pours in through hidden cracks, turning the water inside a shifting palette of sapphire and silver. Here, the sea and the stone seem to dance together, endlessly. Beyond the cliffs, Zakynthos softens. Fields roll away from the coast, stitched with olive groves and vineyards. Narrow roads wind past stone cottages, where vines climb lazily across sun-bleached walls. In the villages, time obeys a different clock. An old man tends to his lemon trees. A woman kneads dough by an open window. A group of children chase a homemade ball through the dust, their laughter carrying across golden fields. In the south, the beaches stretch wide and warm. Here, the sand belongs not only to sunbathers, but also to creatures much older than the island's visitors. Sea turtles come ashore to lay their eggs under moonlight, an ancient ritual repeated across countless summers. Their slow, patient journey across the sand reminds everyone watching that some stories are written in movement rather than words. As afternoon melts into evening, Zakynthos glows. In small taverns along the coast, tables are pulled into the streets. Grilled fish crackles over open flames. Glasses catch the last light, lifted in easy toast. Conversations grow richer as stars appear one by one above the hills. The breeze carries scents of salt, thyme, and smoke, weaving them into the night. But it is in these imperfections that the island's soul lives. It unfolds like a slow-moving tide, pulling you deeper with every sunrise, every wave against the cliffs, every silent moment spent beneath an endless sky. You leave carrying salt on your skin, sun in your hair, and a quiet certainty that the island is not finished with you yet. As we wrap up this unforgettable journey through Greece's hidden gems, we hope you've discovered a side of the country that goes beyond the postcards, the real beauty that lies in the quiet corners, the untold stories, and the unique experiences waiting to be uncovered. From the vibrant streets of Athens to the tranquil shores of Zakynthos, from the rich history of Delphi to the wild beauty of Meteora, we've only scratched the surface of what this incredible land has to offer. If you've enjoyed exploring these hidden treasures with us, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our next adventure. And hey, if you're craving more off-the-beaten-path destinations, be sure to check out our other videos featuring the world's best hidden gems. There's always a new adventure waiting to be discovered. Until next time, keep traveling, keep exploring, and always stay curious.